Okay, I know this intro is going to seem really dated to people in the future, but I need to capture engagement and retention in the short term, so I apologize in advance. Flint and steel! Chicken jockey! This is a crafting table. Flint and steel! An ender pearl. Chicken jockey! This is a chicken jockey. This is the nether. Flint and water bucket. Chicken jockey. Hello and welcome to Nameless Media. I am your host. I don't have a name, that's why the channel is called that. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell. Sorry for not uploading for a while. What happened was my allergies flared up and my voice sounded terrible, so I took a little break. But then I got a job offer, but then it got rescinded because of the economy. And my allergies are still kind of acting up, and all of this made me feel really bad. Speaking of really bad, the Minecraft movie was really bad, but I liked it a whole lot. Both of these things can be true at the same time. And I'm not the only person who feels this way because the movie has a rating of 53% on Rotten Tomatoes, but it's earned over $300 million worldwide in its opening weekend. I'm not really interested in getting super into detail about why the movie is bad, so let's just get that out of the way real quick. The writing was lazy, there was an abundance of lazy kids movie writing cliches. In particular, the third act was generic and predictable. The green screen looked unnatural due to the flat and sterile lighting. The opening narration sounded totally soulless. It seemed like it was written by ChatGPT. And lastly, I have a really big problem with the way that the plot hinges on things created by the characters that are impossible to make in the original game and that were completely made up for the movie. I'm gonna try to talk around spoilers. I don't mind the thing with the tater tots, but there was something having to do with an iron golem that I thought was really lame. I was like, that's just straight up not in the game. I think that reflects a lack of consideration for the mechanics of the game. I understand they're trying to get across the idea that anything is possible in Minecraft, but the movie would have felt much more sincere if the characters and by extension the screenwriters resolved the story's conflicts through solutions that function within the established logic of the game. To me, that kind of creativity is what Minecraft is all about. It was a crappy kids movie, and I basically agree with every criticism that I've heard about the objective quality of the film. The craft, if you will. I know there are plenty of normies who think that kids movies are allowed to be crappy, soulless corporate slop because kids are still gonna love it, but Kit Laser from Movies Are Therapy made a great point about this that stuck with me all week.
Anytime anyone makes a negative review of a family film, there's always, without fail, a mob of people that comment something like, dude, it's a kid's movie. They're gonna love it. And it's like, well, yeah, my dog loves eating shit, but if I feed it to him, I'm still an asshole.
We're allowed to ask for a higher standard of quality from kids and family entertainment. I'm tired of having this same discourse about crappy kids movies every couple of months, so I'm just going to start referring to this analogy because that should be the end of the conversation. I'm going to be saying a lot of positive things about this movie, but I want to be very clear that at the end of the day, this is still true. We can do better. We can raise our children with thoughtful, well-made, and compelling art, so we should. And we should not stop demanding this level of effort and quality from the studio system. So with that being said, why do I like this terrible movie so much? This is a question that has a very long-winded answer. The tagline on Letterboxd is "Be there and be square." My phone contains multitudes. Of course, art is highly subjective, and I firmly believe that the context in which a film is seen is equally important to the film-going experience as the film itself. Cinema is an inherently social art form that has a crucial function as a virtual third space for fans and amateur critics, and a physical third space when you go to the cinema. The social aspect of cinema is why we love sharing reviews on Letterboxd or having shared movie nights on Discord when we can't gather together in person. We even enjoy shared film fandom parasocially by watching Letterboxd for favorite interviews, Criterion Closet videos featuring our favorite celebrities, or long-winded deep dives from some weirdo in a ski mask with less than 100 subscribers. So for this movie, I drove back to the city where I went to college, and my friends and I bought out an entire row of our theater. And I'm gonna lead by saying that we didn't throw trash around the theater, and we were courteous to the other patrons, but I'll talk about that later. All my old college buddies were incredibly down with the Minecraft movie. For context, my partner and I have been quoting those stupid lines from the trailer to each other for days leading up to the movie's release. But to be clear, my girlfriend and I couldn't actually see it together because she had her own plans to see the movie with her family on the same day. Lots of people that I know made an effort to see this thing opening weekend. One of the friends that I went with left the theater after the movie with one of his other friends who was seeing the movie at the same time in another auditorium across the hallway. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. My friends and I played our favorite Minecraft pop song parodies in the car on the way to the theater. Some of my friends dressed up like Steve, some wore merchandise from the game, and I brought a bag that was big enough to sneak in like half a dozen beers. I think spending money on a movie ticket while sneaking in refreshments is better than not supporting the theater at all, and if bringing your own snacks is what convinces you to buy a ticket, I think you should go for it. Not all of us can afford the $15 themed cocktails at the bar up front, and the employees still get paid as long as you buy the ticket. But you should still buy popcorn if you can, because that's where theaters make most of their money. And of course, you should still respect other patrons and clean up after yourselves. And if you plan on being inebriated, be sure to drink responsibly by appointing a sober designated driver. And as for the mother of two 6-year-olds in the row in front of us, what they don't know can't hurt them. But yeah, most of us got wasted. As a result, we were all pretty confused at first because we didn't know about the extended Superman preview before the movie, but I thought it was really cool that they did that. Anyways, let's address the elephant in the room. After this weekend, I was horrified to discover videos on social media of high schoolers trashing movie theaters and throwing popcorn all over the place. This script was already mostly written by the time that I found these, but these videos really undercut the point that I'm going to be trying to make. I'm really scared that the pandemic completely stunted the socialization of an entire generation of children who are now aggressive pubescent high schoolers. The 9-year-olds of the pandemic are now 14. And from what I've seen on social media, I've been led to believe that these kids are like a bunch of little sociopaths. Not all of them, but like most of them. We need to do a better job of engaging with this generation and teaching empathy, because the whole iPad baby thing is going to have ramification for decades to come. That being said, I think the worst cases of this phenomenon are overrepresented in the discourse due to disproportionately high social media engagement on these videos, leading the algorithm to amplify the reach of edge cases. None of the people that I've spoken to in real life have had theatrical experiences that looked even remotely like this, and I hope that the worst of the trash throwing passed after Friday night screenings on opening weekend. But here's a problem that's a lot more common. Theaters have been putting less emphasis on their put your phones away PSAs, and this is something that I have experienced while going to the movies recently. I know this is a much broader issue, but I'm gonna tie it back to Minecraft in just a second. Obviously, our attention spans are pretty fried coming out of the pandemic, and I think most theaters are walking back phone rules in an effort to not alienate patrons, and I think this is terrible. My girlfriend says that some chains are doing this in an effort to promote mobile ordering, which I also think sounds terrible. That makes me upset. Are they trying to monetize the act of ruining the movie with your phone? Admittedly, there is one theater chain which I found to be very vigilant about cell phone rule enforcement. They have multiple clear PSAs before the feature presentation, which explicitly instruct the audience to silence and put away their phones, and clearly warns that they'll receive a single warning from an employee before being kicked out without a refund if they're caught violating these rules. Personally, I've found that this practice is very effective. However, I'm not going to name drop this particular theater chain until they resolve their recent labor disputes, and I'm also going to leave a link in the description to some mutual aid for laid-off cinema workers. Cinema workers are the backbone of the theatrical experience, and they deserve to be fairly compensated for their labor. So I really hope that this chain does better in the future. But I bring up the phones to pose this question. What about recordings of audience reactions? I think this is the one gray area when it comes to phone use, because this behavior is in violation of the rules as written, but is it in violation of the spirit of the rule? Now, to be clear, there's a very big difference between good faith audience reactions and intentional efforts to trash the theater. So if everyone is locked in and vocally reacting to Captain America lifting Thor's hammer, are they really going to be distracted by somebody sneakily recording the theater's reaction? And don't these viral clips serve as free advertising for the theatrical experience? I know a lot of people who have been convinced to see films, even this film specifically, based on videos of audience reactions. Admittedly, when recording, you do pose a serious risk of disturbing fellow patrons during the more intense and quiet moments of the movie, which is bad, and you shouldn't ruin the experience for other people. But moments where the audience audibly reacts to what's happening on screen already disrupt our suspension of disbelief for a moment of shared vocal participation in the theater-going experience. I don't know if it's okay to record these moments, but when they do get recorded, I am admittedly glad to see the videos. That being said, I think it's better to err on the side of caution and exercise discretion in these scenarios. If everybody's cheering on the guy riding on his friend's shoulders while Jack Black says chicken jockey, I think it's probably fine to record that, provided that everyone else is going along with it, because the movie is already being disruptive and it's all in good fun. There's no trash to pick up. If everybody's participating in an impromptu, Rocky Horror-esque recreation of defying gravity during a wicked sing-along, it's probably fine to record that too. But if you're throwing a bucket of popcorn at the row in front of you and yelling water bucket release, I don't think it's okay to record that, especially because you shouldn't be doing that in the first place. Do you think it's ever okay to have your phone out in a theater, or do you think these people should be taken out back and executed by firing squad, and that I deserve the same punishment for even entertaining the idea that this would ever be appropriate? Be sure to let me know in the comment section below. Again, I want to reiterate that for a vast majority of these screenings, it's just a bunch of kids, teenagers, and young adults laughing, applauding, and quoting the funny meme lines. Violating people's personal space and creating a bunch of work for cinema workers by throwing around popcorn is wrong. Yelling chicken jockey in time with Jack Black and everyone else in the theater is perfectly fine and good, actually. I think it's an earnestly beautiful aspect of the shared theater-going experience that obviously can't happen while watching something on your phone. I'm gonna go on another extended tangent so I can compare this movie to The Room.
Yeah, can I have a dozen red roses, please?
Oh, hi, Johnny. I didn't know it was you. Here you go.
That's me. How much is it?
It'll be $18.
Here you go. Keep the change. Hi, doggy.
You're my favorite customer.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
In case you haven't heard of it, The Room is an independently produced drama film that was directed, written, and financed by some weird guy named Tommy Wiseau. I've introduced him as such because we don't know anything about his background or how he got the $6 million to make the film, or even where his accent is from. He also stars in the film, giving a truly Oscar-worthy and legendary performance.
You are lying. I never hit you. You are tearing me apart, Lisa.
No, I can't. Anyway, how is your sex life?
I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not.
Oh, hi, Mark.
The Room is popularly considered to be one of the worst movies of all time, and I strongly believe that everyone should see this movie in theaters at least once before they die. And I know what you're thinking. How am I supposed to see this famously crappy 20-year-old movie in a theater? But when the movie first came out, an ironic fandom rapidly formed around its midnight screenings in Los Angeles. Fans developed inside jokes during repeated viewings and started chanting and yelling at the screen during certain scenes of the movie. For example, the set dressing inexplicably features prominent framed pictures of spoons. My personal theory is that these are the arbitrary stock photos that came packaged with the frames at the store, but that the set dresser didn't bother to change them out before displaying the frames on set. Anyways, these framed pictures of spoons get even more screen time than half of the named characters in the film. So fans started bringing plastic spoons to the theater, and every time those spoons are on camera, fans would shout, "Spoons!" and throw their plastic spoons at the screen. For posterity's sake, I should mention that The Room isn't the oldest example of theatrical audience participation enabled by cult fandom. There's been a massive fandom around the Rocky Horror Picture Show for decades, but I haven't seen that one in theaters because I don't have any experienced friends who can take me to my first screening, and furthermore, I don't want to take off my clothes in public. At any rate, the audience participation in The Room is much easier to replicate in your hometown, because there's no precedence for an elaborate costumed shadow cast performing in front of the screen as is traditionally done during screenings of Rocky Horror. You just need to know the inside jokes, bring some plastic spoons, and maybe show up in costume. So as a result, the fandom continued to explode in popularity, and over the last 20 years, this crappy movie has been screened at theaters around the world on a weekly basis. In fact, Tommy Wiseau and his co-star Greg Sestero have been known to regularly attend screenings for Q&A sessions and autographs. At my first theatrical screening of The Room, I actually got this Blu-ray signed by Greg Sestero, and one day I hope to get it signed by Tommy. I'm covering up part of Greg's autograph here with masking tape because he wanted to make it out to me personally, so he wrote a name on there, which is strange because, as we all know, I don't have a name. That's why the channel is called that. Anyways, The Room taught me that the ironic enjoyment of bad films can be equally as fulfilling as the earnest enjoyment of good films, especially when that experience is knowingly shared with others in a public space. When my friends and I saw Madam Web in theaters, I researched Reddit threads and YouTube reviews to make randomized bingo cards with all of the stupid and nonsensical things that happened in the movie. And struggling to hold in our laughter while playing that game together in the theater is one of my most cherished theater-going memories. The ironic fandom behind the Minecraft movie is something that has sprung up organically yet rapidly in the days leading up to and following the release of the film. Being in that theater felt like being present for the opening run of The Room, but on a national scale, and not with a niche micro-budget midnight movie, but with a multi-million-dollar tentpole studio film based on the highest-selling video game of all time. I should mention that Minecraft is definitively my favorite video game of all time. I don't even play video games all that often, but I've been known to lock in for the occasional 2-week Minecraft phase. I'm 24, but I've loved this game since I was in the 4th grade. Furthermore, Minecraft is one of the most ubiquitous shared cultural experiences of my generation. The game is surprisingly opaque on its own because it lacks a built-in tutorial, but through fan-made YouTube tutorials, wikis, and shared gameplay with friends, the system of logic required to know how to play Minecraft is taught to new players in a manner that builds community. And everybody knows that multiplayer SMPs and realms with friends are infinitely more fun than single-player worlds. Crafting recipes, resource farming tactics, and even basic redstone mechanics are almost a second language to most Zoomers, or honestly most people under the age of 30. Minecraft is genuinely one of the most important cultural pillars of my generation. I have a lot of reverence for this stupid block game. So when we first saw that the Minecraft movie was going to be generic IP slop, a lot of people my age initially felt scared and alienated. Minecraft has no story. It makes no sense for this game to be adapted to this medium. At first, it was frankly ridiculous that the studio expected us to clap and cheer when Jack Black said, "I am Steve," because Steve isn't a character with an established mythology like a Marvel superhero. He's the unisex default skin in a plotless video game. Jack Black is recognizable in that outfit, sure, but this is the cinematic equivalent of jingling keys in front of us 20-year-old Zoomers. But while this movie is obviously corporate IP slop written in a boardroom, I don't think that the final product is soulless. All of the actors seem to have a really good time while making this. Because Steve has no personality in the game, Jack Black has a completely blank slate to fill in that gap with his own quirky mannerisms. Because the game has no story, director Jared Hess of Napoleon Dynamite fame gets to include a subplot about Jennifer Coolidge hitting a villager with her car and falling in love with him. And Jason Momoa got to 69 with Jack Black. Okay, that's a spoiler. I'm really sorry. But if you haven't seen the movie, you're not going to fully believe me until you see it for yourself. So just tell yourself that I made that up as a joke until you actually get a chance to see the movie. And crucially, this is all done fully in earnest. That lack of irony helps to wash away the cynicism that comes with adapting a well-established IP. If the studios leaned any more into the memes surrounding this film, it would have ruined the experience for everyone. It's a well-known fact that ironic memes about bad movies get ruined when the filmmakers are in on it. Instead, the cast and crew have spent the promotional cycle for this film firmly and earnestly committed to the bit. And that's something that people of my generation deeply respect. It allows the ironic fandom surrounding this film to grow organically. It's not forced. It's crucial that the actors and filmmakers not make fun of themselves. That needs to be left entirely up to the audience. I think Deadpool's self-awareness wouldn't work for this marketing campaign because that cynicism is starting to have diminishing cultural returns for people of my generation. Myself and many other people did still spend money on Deadpool and Wolverine, but we came out for Hugh Jackman and those X-Men cameos, not for Ryan Reynolds. Otherwise, you'd see a lot more people talking about Red Notice and Free Guy on a regular basis. So, unlike Free Guy, it's pretty clear that this movie is going to make a historic amount of money. In conjunction with the ironic Zoomer engagement, there's an army of 6-year-olds who are going to grow up hailing this movie as their generation's Citizen Kane. It's a certified 4-quadrant hit. So, what's going to happen next? For the inevitable sequel, the studio won't need to change the formula to entice the younger demographic. They're sold regardless. They deserve better, but they are absolutely eating this shit up, as predicted. But I worry that the studio is in a precarious position when it comes to recapturing the Gen Z market for the sequel. Next time, they're absolutely going to try to be in on the joke, and like I said, that never goes well. So here's how I'd market the next movie. The message of the marketing needs to be that the filmmakers think they have the mandate of heaven because of the first movie's success, and they're under the impression that the first film is an earnest, flawless masterpiece. So they're going to try to outdo that with the sequel. So the second movie is going to show more of the Minecraft universe you love, with Jack Black doing the exact same thing he was doing in the first movie, and maybe Alex is played by like Aquafina, but it's all still fully earnest. That sounds like a joke, but I earnestly think that casting captures the ethos of the original film while expanding the universe and maintaining ironic enjoyment value. But I want no self-awareness about it. No smug fourth wall breaks. The filmmakers don't get to make fun of their own movie. That needs to be left entirely up to the audience if they want to capture the magic of the original in the eyes of Gen Z. I'm gonna get real for a second, so sorry about that, but Gen Z is in a really dark place right now. I've alluded to this a couple of times throughout the video, but for myself in particular, it's been a really rough couple of months. We're experiencing the second major economic crisis of the last 5 years, and the third major economic crisis of our lifetimes. A lot of us are fresh out of college, but the job market is in the shitter, and none of us are ever going to be able to afford a house. We're politically disenfranchised to the extent that there are mass cries for the assassination of public figures on social media. If the feds are watching this, this is not an endorsement of that rhetoric. I fully disavow any public calls for violence, especially those targeted at public figures.
Hi, I'm Trevor Moore. Did you know that?
So the weekend after the tariffs were announced, a lot of people my age wanted to forget about everything that's wrong with the world. We all just wanted to go out and make a big joke out of the silly chicken jockey movie. Due to social media platforms developing algorithmically hyper-personalized niches within the massive breadth of content available on the internet, broad cultural events are increasingly few and far between for people of my generation. Do y'all know about Sue Talk? The trend where people make nonsensical edits of the character Sue Heck from The Middle.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, I won!
I haven't even seen this TV show. I only really know about it through these edits, but I don't have anybody to talk to about Sue Talk. There's no one water cooler TV show like Lost or Game of Thrones anymore. Only a couple of my friends saw Severance because nobody has Apple TV Plus. And I can't talk to my friends about Invincible because I'm not caught up past season 1. I was thankful to meet one other person at a party who's seen The Righteous Gemstones, but I don't know anybody that I can talk to about the studio. And my girlfriend doesn't have many people to talk to about Common Side Effects. And God help me if I want to start watching The White Lotus or The Pit. Like, yeah, they're popular on Twitter, but that's not the same as talking to my friends about it in person. We're desperate for escapism, we're desperate for third spaces, and we're desperate for community. So when the memes came out about the funny Flint and Steel movie, we latched onto it. None of us are going to be buying houses or new cars anytime soon, so we're all willing to spare $15 to see Jack Black and Jason Momoa 69ing. Now you're in on the joke. Now you can share this joke with your friends. Now you have a tiny glimmer of solidarity and generational identity in spite of how shitty the world is right now. And that's why I like this stupid movie, because I got to share it with my friends. So will you have the same experience if you go to see the Minecraft movie in theaters? Depending on how old this video is at the time that you're watching it, that remains to be seen. The first weekend financial success and word of mouth will undoubtedly convince reluctant parents to take their children over the next few weeks. But as for older theater goers, I'm not sure that the ironic fandom surrounding the Minecraft movie will last. I think it would be really neat for this film to become a cult classic if the brain rot memes have genuine staying power, but I also think it's entirely possible for the ironic hype surrounding this movie to die suddenly if the studio does something to ruin the joke. Maybe for Gen Z, this phenomenon is the cinematic equivalent of a 2-week Minecraft phase, discarded in less than a month due to our fried attention spans and our compulsive fear of seeming cringe for still finding last week's memes funny. But on the other hand, maybe this is the ironic successor to the Barbenheimer box office phenomenon, and we've just witnessed the birth of a generational so bad it's good classic. Only time will tell, but if you're thinking about seeing the Minecraft movie and you're above the age of like 13, see it sooner rather than later just in case, and try to see it with a bunch of people who are, I guess, easily excitable. No offense. It's all in good fun. I do hope the studios don't take the wrong lesson from this movie's success. I hope we don't get a flood of cynical, purposefully low-effort adaptations of recognizable IPs for the sake of capturing the so bad it's good Zoomer market, but that's entirely possible. and none of those movies will be nearly as successful as this one. This is the type of bad movie that you can't fake, because while the premise is painfully generic, it was made with genuine heart, and the fandom around it grew organically. So to replicate it on purpose would not work by definition. It has to be earnest and organic. We're nearing the end of the review, so I want to reintroduce you to my preferred rubric for rating films on YouTube, the Dan Merle scale. I'm going to let the man himself explain his scale with an excerpt from one of his videos.
Because of the binary fresh rotten system that most reviews go through now on Rotten Tomatoes, that nuance is hard to express. And it's this loss of nuance that has led me to roll out a new tool for both me as a critic and for you as an audience. I have now developed a sliding scale as far as what I feel about a movie and how I'm going to recommend it to you as an audience. And this is the scale and how it's going to work. At the top of the scale is a rating I call See It Now, which would be movies that I recommend unreservedly. Under that is a tier called It's Good, meaning a recommendation, but probably not a glowing one. Then we have one right in the middle called It's Fine, for movies that I feel are either mixed bags or maybe just not that remarkable, either positive or negative. Then we have Not a Fan, for movies that I didn't like or that are perhaps just not for me. And finally, Stay Away, my lowest ranking, reserved only for movies that I wouldn't recommend that you see under any circumstances.
But you'll notice that I've tweaked his scale by changing the bottom tier from Stay Away to It's Bad, because you shouldn't necessarily stay away from a bad movie. And a Minecraft movie is the perfect example of this. It's bad, but if you relate to the sentiments that I've shared in this video, by no means should you stay away. Come join the conversation. Speaking of which, you can join the conversation by sharing your thoughts on the Minecraft movie in the comment section below. What did you think? Is this the next Citizen Kane? Will this movie make mine billions of dollars? Flint and Steel? Flint and Steel! Chicken jockey! Let me know. And while you're at it, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more videos of me yapping about movies. That's all I've got. Here's the end card. Welcome back to the 10 seconds of black screen at the end of the video so you can click on stuff. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of the video. Leave a comment if you made it this far because it's good for engagement. And check out the short form content that I've uploaded on Shorts, TikTok, and Reels. I'll leave those profiles linked in the description. Okay, thanks, bye!